Today we will talk about limits, and this is going to define the behavior of a given function near a point. So let's get started. Let's look at a particular function f of x, x squared minus x plus 2. And I will enter these two tables in my graphing calculator because I would like to see what that function does near the point 2. So let's go here. We are going to use something called stat and edit. And we are going to enter these points 1, 1.5, 1.9, 195, 199, 1995. And then I'll do that from the left-hand side, 3, and then kind of come close to 2. So I'm using up and down arrows, as you see. So I entered all that in L1. Now I'm going to go and enter the function in L2, go up, push enter. This is like a spreadsheet. You're going to see this blink. So I'm going to enter x squared minus x plus 2. And the way you do that, you go and you keep that L1 from second one. So let's go L1 squared minus L1 plus 2. Once you enter that, when you push enter, you're going to see something. You're going to see the values. It starts at 2, and then it gets closer and closer certain values. And you're kind of going, that's kind of interesting. You see that it's going to get very close to 3.985 from both sides. Okay? So you can kind of see that. Oh, it's happening from both sides, okay? So this is very close to 4, okay? I can actually say, okay, well, maybe I will look at this in the graph form. So let's go and let's enter that as a function in the calculator, y equals x squared minus x plus 2. You're going to use these x's. And I'm going to set up the window here. You go to window, and I will have -1, 2, 3, and then I will have 0.5. Oops, not that one. Oh yeah, I'll use the scaling of 0.5. -0.5. And I will use 5, and I'll use a scaling of 0.5 as well. And then let's push graph, and let's see what we see. Okay? Now, let's say I would like to see what's happening near that. So I can use something called trace feature. When I push trace, it actually gives you, oh, these are the polar coordinates. I need to go and change that. Let's go to second format. You see that coordinate on, grid off, grid on. So I'm going to also get those grids off. It's kind of, I don't like seeing that. And then I will put it in rectangular coordinate rather than polar coordinate. And let's graph it one more time. You see, the grids disappeared. Now I will also put one more thing. I would like to see the trace. It puts the function in there. Do you see that x is 1, y is 2? Remember, I was just looking at the behavior near x equals 2, so I can go right arrow this. And I kind of look at the behavior near 2. Do you see these things change? And it looks like you see 2.02. This is around 4. I can actually go and zoom in. You can use the zoom feature here. You can zoom in and enter. You see, now I have the zoomed in version, and it's getting closer to, if I do the trace, you see 2.02, and now my y-coordinate is 4.06. Okay, another way of kind of really getting that value, it looks like I'm approaching to the value of y equals 4, approaching from left and the right. Another feature may be the function value thing. In here, you can go to second calculate, and now you can go to value and enter x equals, remember I was looking near 2. Oh, look, it actually is defined at 2, and it went and found it. All right, so I can comfortably say when I approach this function, the x values from the left and the right to 2, I get 4. So you say the limit of the function f of x as x approaches 2 is equal to 4. And this is how you write it. And this is the end of this first subsection. Now let's look at a function that is defined as x minus 1 divided by x squared minus 1, and I'm looking for the limit as x goes to 1. The problem is this function is not defined at x equals 1. And in the last example, it was defined, so I could even use the function value and get the value. But here, that's not the case. So what do? Now, I'm going to use the table feature. I'm going to approach, just like I showed here, the value 1 from the right and the left. So this one is from the right, and this one is from the left. So I'm going to enter that. I'm going to use the L1 and then put it in L2 values, and I'll do all these things to show you how it's done. So let's go to the calculator. I will go stat, edit. I pre-entered the values 0.5, 0.9, 0.99, 0.999. That is getting close to 1 from the left. Then I did 1.5, 1.1, 1.01, and then I'm approaching 1 from the right. So I'm going to go to L2, and I will enter this function. So let's go to L2 and enter it. Enter. I'm going to put left parentheses, second L1 minus 1 divided by second L1 squared minus 1. Now, watch very closely this column. When I push enter, it enters all these values, and it looks like when I get close to it, do you see it? When this value is very close to 1, it gets very close to 0.5. Is that happening from the other side? Let's scroll down. It looks like it is also happening from the other side. So we can say the limit as x goes to 1 of x minus 1 over x squared minus 1 is 0.5. Let's analyze this when I do the graphs as well. So let's enter the graphs in the calculator. I entered x minus 1 using this button in here, x minus 1 divided by x squared minus 1. Now, let's try to do that value thing that I did before. Second, calculate, value, and let's enter 1 in there. Oh, what's happening? It is outside my zoom. So let's go and get a zoom standard. So I go to zoom, and I'll go to zoom standard so I can see the whole function in there. Here we go. And now I'm going to try to use the calculate button again. Second, calculate, value. I will put 1, enter. Do you see it? It put the function in there. It put x equals 1, y equals blank. That is one hint that your calculator is giving you. Your function is not defined at 1 because I'm not giving you any value. All right. So we cannot really use the value feature. So let's look in here. So what did we do? I went to value thing and it just gave me blank. So I cannot use the value feature anymore. So my only feature that I can use is try to approach the function from the right and from the left to, at around 1. So let's try to do that. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to keep on zooming and we're going to keep on tracing, okay? So trace and zoom, and you're going to see we're going to get someplace. So when you do the zoom standard here, I can trace it at that point if you want. And you see, it's when you go right and left, these steps are too big. When you look at it, it's the 1.06 and then 1.27, and it's like 0.43, so that's not very good. I can actually use the zoom in feature. Zoom, and then let's go to zoom in. All right, I want to go around here, and let's see what happens around 1. I will hit enter. And I zoomed in a little bit. Let's trace it now. Do you see it? It's a little bit better, 127. Let's go to the left. 122. You see now the steps are a little smaller. 1.11, 1.01. You see it goes from 0.957 to 1.01. That's still, let's say, I'm thinking it's too big. While I'm right here, I can zoom in one more time. Watch. So when I do that, now I am even zoomed in more. Okay, now let's look at this trace now. When you look at the trace, and I'm going to go left, 0.97, 0.98. Oh, you see that's not bad. 1.01. Now actually the value, I can see it. When I round this to 1 decimal, I see that the limit is in fact 0.5. So you use the trace and zoom, and then zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and you'll actually hit this. And even though your function is not defined at that